A morning dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
What a hectic but fantastic Friday show we had on Coffee and Cream in the Morning. And I say hectic because there was just so much to talk about and so little time to do it. So that's why we come to Morning Dump, to give you just that. We have Mike Sautter with us. He is our high school basketball insider at Hurrdat Sports. Mike on the phone, joined with DB and myself. How you doing, man?
Insider might be a little bit of a stretch.
Hey, what do you want me to call you?
I don't know.
Expert?
I don't know. People on Twitter yesterday called me a bunch of different stuff.
Hey, so listen, so I was going to text you off to the side. I'm like, I'm not saying you played the victim, but when you made it seem like people were coming at you over Ernest Hausman, I knew people were going to come at you and say, okay, where's your proof? Where's your proof? So, and I know you didn't want to get into all that, but you did screenshot the negativity.
Yeah, I had receipts. So it's all right.
Hey, for the backstory, would you like to share what went on yesterday or no?
Yeah, so the Ernest Hausman deal, right? So he obviously but announced his transfer commitment to Michigan. Well, people that actually talk to the kid and talk to each other, Schaefer and I talk a lot, and Schaefer was exactly right when he said, hey, look out for Michigan on this one, because he really liked Michigan when throughout the recruiting process he just wasn't able to visit Michigan because it was COVID, so he couldn't take a visit there. And then, boom, he ends up landing at Michigan. And I actually, before I tweeted that out, I texted Schaefer. And I said, dude, you were spot on this. 100% correct. Good job, all that stuff. Because, yes, we might be competitive, but we can still, congratulate each other when they do a good job or know some stuff that other people don't. It's not that hard. Anyway, so then I don't know why I opened up his messages or his replies on his tweet, but I did, and I just thought it was funny that, former players and fans and everything were like, oh, well, he was just okay in Nebraska. But I'm generalizing, not specific here, but he was just okay in Nebraska, Schaefer, you're saying he's going to be an all Big Ten guy. Let's wait and see and all that stuff. I'm like, whoa. Like, months ago, the dude was a starting inside linebacker for the team that you cheer for, root for, talk about every day. And now all of a sudden he's not good? How does this change? What changed?
So when you say former players, are you talking about his current teammates or knuckleheads like me?
No. Knuckleheads
like me?
Like you, I guess, in that category.
Hey, thanks for discerning.
At least he stuttered through it.
It was nice for him to say, oh, man, DB, you're my guy, man. You're not a knucklehead, but, yeah, you're like, former guys. But, no, you couldn't even make that distinction?
No, it was it's easy to see. It was Jay Foreman, who knows more about playing linebacker than I ever will. If I read.
Yeah, he and I have talked about Ernest in the last week, so I probably understand his sentiment.
But I just didn't understand it. I don't get it, because then it's a narrative. It's driving a thing of, oh yeah, we'll be fine without him. He wasn't that good, but at the same time, the dude was a true freshman who got thrust into starting at inside linebacker when clearly he wasn't ready for that, and it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault that he got thrust into that. Now, by the time the season went on, he got better and more comfortable, but it's not his fault that the former staff didn't recruit enough depth there or develop it to where you don't have to throw out a true freshman, no matter how talented he might be. So, I just didn't understand that. And then there was fans that were saying, oh, oh, kid sucks. See you later. Good riddance. You're not one of us. We hate you. Blah, blah, blah. And that I just don't get down with that. Like, I just don't.
I'll tell you what, Mike. I was telling DB yesterday because we had a portal conversation about who we thought was priority number one, and he brought up, like, not in the portal, but, on this team, who is, like, the number one priority to retain or to think about or to talk about, and he said Casey Thompson, and I went one step further to say, no, actually, I think Hausman is the one that I wish Nebraska could find some way to bring back. And then, of course, 3 hours later, that news broke. And so I was on the same page with you. I mean, he had such a good freshman campaign that it had me sitting back and thinking, like, man, missing him and missing that piece. Not to say that they can't go out and recruit and find somebody just as good, but he's a huge loss for this program.
Yeah, maybe I'm too close. To, like,
for sure. And I was going to tell you that yesterday, Mike, and I hate to interrupt you, but I'm just going to save you having to explain why you like him so much, because you got in there and got the backstory and talked to the family, and I know how you feel. So I'm going to take you having to explain yourself away from your listening audience. I know you were in on Ernest Hausman when a lot of people didn't think he was going to be very good. They thought it was just this kid out in small town Nebraska that was a feel-good story. I know you went and got in there, got the backstory, couldn't walk, didn't think he was going to play, the adoption. Yeah. So you're connected. And I think what I would say to you just is to help you out and keep your stress level down. You can't explain love or care and concern on social media. So people aren't going to understand a lot of times why you're defensive or are an advocate for kids, because they don't know your heart. And you have to be okay with that. Do you know what I mean?
No,
that's what I wanted to tell you yesterday. But, I mean, you're watching games. You're fired up. We're talking about, Elkhorn North and Millard South girl. Like, it just wasn't the time. But that's what I wanted to say to you.
No, I appreciate that. I do understand that. And there are times I just don't know if I'll ever understand the fan. And maybe it's because I'm not, like, a fan. Hey, I want Nebraska to win every game. Mm-hmm. I do. But I'm not throwing stuff at the TV.
Right.
Not like I am for the New York Jets. No, I'm throwing stuff at the TV.
Kids are your passion. So if it's good for kids, the school is irrelevant. That's why you tell the story of Midland and Doane and Minnesota Mankato and Iowa and Wisconsin and Nebraska, or Gonzaga, because you're about the kid, not the school.
Right. I could care. Listen, I've said this. I said it yesterday multiple times. I've said this a lot in the past. I'm for kids from Nebraska, whether they get a scholarship offer from the University of or not. I don't care. So call me a hater, Nebraska hater, all you want. Doesn't matter to me.
No, I don't. I don't think people. See, you can't embrace that, Mike. Like, I feel like we're having a black couch moment. I don't think people think you are, though. I don't think you can't waste your time on that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just talking about DB or with DB about the rabbit hole of social media and how negative it can be.
Oh, isn't that funny?
And we were just talking about that.
So Drew Down, who's become kind of, he helps me.
I'm tech savvy.
Helps me with social media, like you do, Mike. Right? Hey, do it this way. Why not this? And he's like, you know what? This is funny you think of me like that, because I was anti-social media for so long.
For a long time. Yeah, I hated going down the black hole, and I told Damon, I said, I was never fully up to date on sports conversations, sports interactions, topics, or even statistics right away, because I did not want Twitter. I did not want Instagram. I did not want Facebook. I didn't have a Facebook until freshman year of college. and Facebook's been around since, 2008? So, when I think about social media, I hated it so much, and I still to this day really despise social media, although it's a great source of information when you're on Twitter, especially in our job field. But I hate how negative it is and how negative it can be and how many bots and Twitter warriors are out there that will hide behind a keyboard and say something but never have the grapes to say it to my face. So in this case,
right.
that's where I kind of land the plane with you, Mike, is, whether or not, you felt like you had to defend yourself, which I don't think you did. I mean, you did. The work that you do is incredible, and nobody can do it like you do it. And the relationships that you have created with these players, so that you do, like you said, you may be close to the situation, but that's a good thing sometimes, because that means you do your job well if you are close to all of these different players. But that's why I hate social media, because I just can't get behind all the negativity. We want to push the be better in quotes, right? That's what we've been pushing for years.
That's usually
be better.
That's usually on my Twitter
and
profile.
That's not social media. Social media is trending worse and worse and worse. And maybe we're finding our way back up the mountain, but for all intents and purposes, social media could leave and our society could be fine.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you, our society would be fine. We'd be much nicer to one another. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, so listen,
I get all my news from social media. I don't really watch the news.
I don't watch the news either, and that's another reason why I left local news. Is because of all the negativity I had to constantly talk about and cover.
Can I say this and move on?
No.
Yeah, let's move on.
I want to say this and move on. I think you guys should really take a look at the value you place in yourself as a consumer and challenge yourself to sift through the minutia.
Well, that's what I do.
And don't let it dictate your sentiment.
That's why I still miss things
because I still think you can always learn. But
it's okay to check out.
Mike Sautter, we talked to Coach Etzemiller this morning, who is one of my, full disclosure, one of my favorites, because I think he's one of the classiest, nicest people in the Metro.
Yeah, fantastic human being.
With a very difficult job. Level of surprise, at least early, or are you waiting, that Millard North has found a couple of different ways to win as they're evolving chemistry-wise?
I'm not overly surprised, and here's why. One, Etz has been there for ever.
Yeah.
He was there the whole time that
he was the Jim Leonard.
Cannon was there. So yeah, he's basically Jim Leonard. That's a good point. I'm not overly surprised. Now they've had to replace a ton. It also helps that as they've come back to the pack has kind of fallen a little bit too, right?
Yep, understood.
So that certainly helps. They're still one of the top teams in the state. I think that's clear after a couple of weeks here, that you'd throw them if you had a top 4 or 5, they're definitely in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was talking with Jacob actually last night about this.
Martin or a rope or Padilla?
Padilla. Yeah, and we just talk often about random
high school
miss.
hoopers. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
asked for
I didn't know if you were going
clarification.
like Jingleheimer Schmidt and
No.
Millard North played, so it could have been Jacob Martin. Jacob Arope was
I'm with
back,
ya.
so it
I'm
could have
with
been
ya.
a rope, but he's talking about Jay Peasy off the Heezy.
Yeah, and we were just talking about this, and it's something I've said quite a bit, but it's starting to kind of come to fruition a little bit. Right now in Class A, Bellevue West is the class, and I think 2 through 16 could probably all beat each other on any given night, and I think Bellevue West will get caught and beat once or twice, maybe 2. They're not, for as good as they are, and this is maybe a different conversation to have, but could Bellevue West, with this roster, win one of the last 4 or 5 Class A state titles?
Yeah, I don't know
they're,
about how
clearly
relevant that is, though.
But you know what I'm saying, though. I think it's.
Oh, you're just comparing the basketball.
Yes.
Prowess.
We're coming back down the mountain here as far as, like, we reached the peak of the mountain. Like, we really did as far as talent goes.
Yeah.
Hunter Salas, St. Thomas, Chucky Hepburn, like, dudes that are now, really producing at a high level. We've only seen, as far as recruiting rankings and all that go, we've only seen that 3 times in our history, and we just left it. Or on the downturn of it, the down slope of it, I feel like. Now, will it be as far of a cliff? Probably not. It'll probably be just a little bit of a dip or a blip, not like we're going all the way to the bottom of the mountain. We got to climb all the way back up like we did, before. So I think that's sort of relevant to the conversation of Bellevue West is very dominant. Millard North is still really good. They're undefeated. They've been tested. They got Millard West tonight, and then North Star next week.
North Star tonight.
North Star tonight.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
North Star tonight. They beat
Tomorrow.
Millard West.
Yeah.
That's right. Beat Millard West the other night, who, they're 500. North Star it's a big night for Lincoln, honestly.
Yeah, for like a pH balance, a litmus test.
Yeah, yeah, and Lincoln East losing to Lincoln High
last night. Yeah,
is like whoa, right? So that's something. Bellevue West goes to Lincoln Northeast. West Side goes to Pius. North Star goes to Millard North. I think for the people in Lincoln, they say, oh, Lincoln's catching up or has caught up. I think it's a little bit of both. I think the middle/bottom of the Metro has dropped, and Lincoln, yes, has gotten better, and they're kind of in the middle. And that's why I say, anyone can beat anyone on any given night, 2 through 16, 17, whatever, right? Like, your really bad teams they're just going to be really bad.
You know what I think is interesting about that is one thing we're kind of missing is even with like Gretna or Millard North, or when you start talking about the kids that are involved, Pekorsky and Wilcoxon and Wilkins and let's say a West Side with C.J. Mitchell and Benning and Stubblefield, and Millard North has Mosser and Eli, and the wow factor or the awe in terms of playing against Bellevue West is nil. They don't care about Dotzler. They don't care about Stuvey. They don't care about a Rope. It's not Turner. It's not Jaden Jackson, because they played against these guys. And so I think the one thing that we're nobody cares that Bellevue West is supposed to be good, because the human component in competition is that these kids have all played against them or with them before, which makes Dotzler being such a high major guy, it accentuates why he's the difference maker with that team, because I think everybody else, for the most part, is negated by familiarity and competitiveness with the rest of the Metro.
Yeah, it's basically a wash, and I'm not saying Bellevue West is going to hammer.
And I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying I think that's why nobody's ooh, Bellevue West.
I do. I think,
but I do think it's ooh, Josiah Dotzler.
Do you think he's would you consider him the best player in Class A?
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah.
I mean, right now he's He's very savvy. He's played on a high level. He's played against the greatest caliber competition, except for a lot of those ETG guys, like Stubblefield, Mitchell. Even the UA guys with Pekorsky, they played against some fellas, and he's older, right? He's more mature. He's more physically mature. He's 19 years old, so it's different, I think, because of not only his basketball acumen and his talent, but his physical prowess as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's clearly the best player in the senior class.
No question.
I don't think that's even comparison. Like I think the number 2 is far below. But again, you brought up Gretna, which made me think, hey, big night for Gretna at Papio South tonight too. I'm changing gears a little bit here, but that's a big game for both teams. Early, I think.
You know what's interesting about, and I think Gretna has prep with Christmas in the Cage too, right?
No, Lincoln East.
Lincoln East.
Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's right. Lincoln East does tomorrow.
They could have a tough week.
But I don't know. Like, prep still has to be able to score too. Like, they've got to figure out how they want Newble to play and get some help for when they're not making points or scoring from behind the arc. Let's go specific here and kind of go 1 through 10 in A. We talked a little bit about Bellevue West and what we think of them. They're 1. Gretna right now is slated for 2. Let's break that down as you kind of look at let's just a quick rundown of the coaches' rankings.
Yeah, I think Gretna 2 is fair. I mean, just based off of last year and what they returned and everything like that, they had to escape prep. I went back and actually watched that game, and I think prep's probably a little better than 2 and 2. Gretna being 4-0 is who they are. They're solid. Wilkins and Wilcoxon both are really good. And
Wilkins is the X factor, and Roselle is the most improved.
Roselle is William Kyle, on a not quite that level, 2.0, right? Like, he's the guy that senior year, whatever. But he's not, he's not as good as William Kyle was. But it's similar, right? The thing about Gretna is Pekorski, and can he find it right now? That's the thing. I think tonight, Papio South, they go to Papio South. He's had a little bit of a rough start here, so I think can he find it tonight? Maybe that's a big
younger, not younger in terms of grade, because Kircher's only a year, or Kircher and Ball are only a little younger, but physically, Pekorski is bigger and stronger than Papio South's backcourt. Is that an advantage as they try to get him going in terms of off the bounce and not taking such contested shots?
Yeah, Gretna is they're just more mature. Even their older kids are just bigger, stronger type of stuff. I mean, they just are. I would expect, I'd expect about a game in the 50s, a little bit low scoring and probably a grinder, because that's what Gretna does unless they blow people out. So that's my expectation for tonight, I guess.
Let's go to number 3. We talk Millard North.
Yeah. No, I was looking up the Metro, because like the Metro Holiday Tournament, because I was like, holy cow.
Oh, the seedings?
Yeah, like a slate of games. But no, we'll start with Millard North first, because, I first will say this, between the two of you, I really like just kind of sitting back and listening. Because for me, no, hear me out though. For me, it's so hard to jump in just 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks into high school basketball and just know everything. Mm-hmm. Like, it's too difficult to do that. You have to. What would you say, a year's worth of high school basketball to really be like, okay, I feel comfortable now?
And we'll hang out this summer and we'll go watch summer basketball.
And that's going to be totally fine with me. I can't wait to do more of that. But right now, it's nice for me to kind of intake information. But, more on the point of Millard North. And we were talking about how they only have 2 returning starters, and they're going up against North Star. And North Star, not only you mentioned how dominant Bellevue West is. North Star, in regards to their physical presence, is dominant too. Like, they're very lengthy players, and that sets up for a difficult matchup here with Millard North. But when it comes to Mike, I'm going to ask you this because I asked Coach this too. But when it comes to only having 2 guys back from a state championship team, and you have all the expectation in the world to get back to that title stage again, you have to ask a lot of young guys to step up. And for one, you have to do it in order to be successful, and they are doing it. But in your opinion, who are those people? Who is keeping Millard North relevant at this point?
Well, I mean, those guys, they might not have started, but they played a lot. They played a lot of dudes.
100%.
They're not inexperienced. They're just young.
But elevating the game, so to speak, elevating their game at least.
Well, Eli Gates is one that has definitely elevated himself.
Well, it's interesting because he hasn't really shot it well as of late.
No.
And he's learning to play, I guess I'd say, the point. He's their primary ball handler. I'm kind of enjoying watching him figure it out because I know he's competitive because he's very capable of being a good defender too.
Well, and another guy, Derek Rollins, has killed it this year for them.
Yeah, a little bit of an off night the other night dealing with length, and he's got a big one tomorrow dealing with more length as well.
Well, is Brendan Clemens going to play or hurt his knee or something in the middle of the game? That's the question.
Well, they've got a lot of options though when it comes to long bodies.
Do. Yeah, they definitely do. I'm just,
So what about Lincoln East? Tough week.
Well, last night was a tough one. I wasn't expecting that. Temple Meyer is the key, right? He's just the key there. Coach Campbell does such a good job.
He's amazing.
I think they'll end up being fine. It was at Lincoln High, on the road, and again, I think Lincoln High is a tick better. Like I think they're a little bit older. They had a bunch of guys play last year, so Lincoln is very much so. Pretty evenly matched, I think. Throughout the year, they'll all beat each other. I don't think there's one clearing away best team in Lincoln, and I don't think there's one, clearly they're a terrible team in Lincoln either. So that's then you get what you got last night.
It's a good spread of teams from Omaha and Lincoln, though, as you look up and down the rankings.
And speaking of which, the next team, in my opinion, there's a team from Lincoln that got a big win early, Lincoln Southeast, over this team, in which they kind of crumbled late, turning the basketball over. Westside's starting to get healthy, showing some flashes. How do you feel about Omaha Westside?
Yeah. I mean, they're starting to find they're getting it figured out a little bit. I think, what are we on? 2 games in a row scoring over 60 points. So, that's good. Maybe some of the offensive woes have gone. I actually sent a text to Coach Simons the other night after they won and they scored 66. I was like, hey, look, you guys scored over 60 and you won a game. Imagine that. And that was obviously I was joking. I don't think he really appreciated it very much.
It's Coach Simons. He's tough.
Yeah, it's all right. But no, Caleb back certainly helps.
Yeah,
we'll see. Lofton, if he comes back, I think the first game against Southeast, so they're old, they're big, a lot of length. Obviously, Ben got Doc, Hinkleman coming over. All that stuff certainly helps. I just think it was a tough matchup.
Chewy played out of his mind for about 7 minutes in that game too.
That also, yes. So you have that first game was a little bit rough. Now you have Crawford, the younger guys, kind of a little more comfortable, I think, in what Westside is doing and want to do. The deal is, are they going to be able to shoot the three like they have in the past, and who's going to be that person to kind of spread the floor a little bit or open things up on offense to hit the corner three or whatever? Is that Caleb? Is that Lofton? Tate Odvity is going to have the ball in his hands probably a little bit.
Let me say something about that. You know what I think is going to be interesting, and I'm by far not Coach Simons, but Odvity or Caleb would probably be the most obvious choices. You know what I would do though, Mike? I would play the 2-man games with Caleb and CJ and put Tate on the perimeter, because he's probably their most consistent outside shooter, and take a little bit of the stress off of having him handle the basketball and let him be the catch and shoot guy. That's kind of what I would, because I think CJ and Caleb can get to any spot on the floor they want to, right? So just let them do that.
Right, and CJ taking over kind of the actual lead point guard spot.
It's weird
Now,
how they do it, because kind of, but no.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was going to say. But Tate is the one that he has the ball in the team, like majority of the time. So, but I feel you on that. Have him kind of be the catch and shoot guy, because one, that's what he does really well, and two, off the bounce, can get a little caught up, right?
Yeah,
that's unless he's doing
it
that's
honest.
over the head. What is that? Euro step thing? I don't know what it's called, but that move where he kind of, you know what I'm talking about? Where
I've seen it for 7 years.
The get slim, put the ball over your head move that he does.
Yeah,
kind of wiggles his hips. Yeah. So yeah, I think they'll be fine eventually. It's just where, like where we right now, it looks like it's getting figured out. And oh, by the way, Kevin Stubblefield's had a heck of a kind of last couple of games.
The challenge with Stubbs is he's very capable. He turns the ball over a little too much. His thing, and I would say this to him or Coach Simons because I have. Stubbs has got to be the guy that when you're not drawing plays up for him, works to get free in the offense, because he has a tendency to wander when he's not dribbling the ball. Like, it was easy against Burke, and he had the 2 games with 60-some points. Millard South touched him. They pushed him away from the basket. He got in a little bit of foul trouble. The evolution in his game will be his work output. How does he move without the basketball?
Yeah, and his focus. Like, there are times, obviously, summer, like the focus part, you got to stay in there all the time.
Being engaged. So, how would you round out the last half of the back of like, because 6 through 10 I think is going to be interesting. I think Prep is better than 2 and 2. I like Lincoln Southeast. East. I like Lincoln Southwest. I think they're capable, although I'm not sure how they want to play offensively. Like, there's some weird combos on the back end.
And I think Papio South, again, will go back to that. Like, I don't know if 4-1 to start the year or whatever they are, the one loss, it was the expectation. Like, I think they thought maybe they would go through a little bit of growing pains early. Mm-hmm. But Bryce Ball is super athletic, man. Like, he's pretty good. And Maul coming over certainly helps them. Devin Jones is physical enough there, too. Southwest is the one that they got the talent, right? Like, Chuck Love is gifted, right? Like, he's good. But what else do they have around him? And it feels like at times there can be some selfishness there. So not with Chuck. I'm just saying with teammates and stuff, like, I'm going to get mine. And that may be part of the offense. But when it comes to, I can say this, right, nut cutting time, like, what are you going to do? Who's getting the ball? Who's making that shot? Who's taking it? So I think they're trying to figure that out a little bit. Love Alex. I obviously think he's fantastic. Have for a long time. But I think they're searching a little bit maybe to kind of figure that one out.
Mike, we should talk to you again next week, but we should actually move him to Coffee and Cream on Thursday because that's the holiday tournament. Like, we should talk to him prior to the tournament.
Get a preview and then let him dump because there's so much. Hey, let's go real quick, though. Let me finish out a couple of questions in A before we move to B because I have a couple questions there. All in, patiently waiting, exceeded expectations. Central basketball.
Ooh. I think they might be. I don't think they're exceeding expectations. I think they're kind of right on course. They got a lot of kids in from. I mean, they lost a ton, but they got a lot of guys in. It's not the Omaha Central that we're accustomed to by any means, I don't think. But they're still right there in the mix. I think they're going to be in the conversation for potentially hosting a district when it's all said and done. I think they're fine, and they'll probably go in our coaches pool. I'm guessing they'll move from 7, 8, 9, 10 to receiving votes to nod all year, and that's just my kind of
more surprised about Burke's okay start, or more surprised about North's not so okay start?
More surprised about North. Honestly, I thought they would be a little bit better out of the gate. Schedule's been a little tougher at the beginning, I think, than we expected.
At least on paper, you're right.
Right. Yeah. I'm surprised. I mean, they've lost some close games now, as far as North. But I guess I thought that they would probably be a little bit better out of the gates. But I still think they're definitely talented. They're just the night I saw them against Papio South, they couldn't make shots, and I don't know if that's skill level stuff or what, but they have the talent there to make a nice run at it. It's just kind of, when it's a lot different in AAU when you're just running and jumping than when you're scouted and all of that. So you got to kind of, adjust, I think, and players have to adjust along with coaching staff had to adjust to what that looks like. And frankly, they just didn't that night. I think Daleron Thomas is really good. Trey Brown's a nice athlete, but DeAndre Perkins, for as athletic as he is, he's got to be able to make a jump shot. He has to, or else people just sag off of him and just be like, okay, I'm not going to get dunked on, so I'm going to just sag off of him. He's got to make shots.
What about let's go to Class B.
Yeah.
Scott is obviously the favorite. Have you seen enough in Platteview or somebody else? Bennington's obviously going to get better as the football guys get more basketball acclimated. I don't know if they're going to score enough. Usual suspects, Waverly, Elkhorn North. Maybe Elkhorn North. I don't think they can score enough either. Spooner's made a nice visit at Elkhorn. Michael into the top 10, and he's got a prolific scoring guard. Is it Scott and everybody else? Is there somebody else out there where you're like, Coach Juergens, this maybe get interesting?
Well, okay, Scott. I think Scott's the clear, number one, right? I think that's fair in everybody's mind so far. Even though Elkhorn North almost beat him on opening night. But Platteview, I think, is really good. And Platteview the other night, having to win a Clark, Ribble, grind you out, no shot clock, minute-long possession game, and for them to win it with Connor Milken in major foul trouble and having to fight through, oh, my gosh, Connor's not on the floor for,
a
more
quarter.
than 30 seconds. Yeah, that's a big deal, right? And them finding a way to win it certainly makes you think a little bit harder. I will tell you one game tonight, Roncalli. I think Roncalli is pretty good.
Isn't it crazy how they're dab smack in the top 5? And over the last 4 years, look at the names of the good basketball players that they've lost.
Yeah, and they're still just consistently there.
It's crazy.
For a school that is basically a C1 school, right? So McGill is really good. We know how good he is as a football player and quarterback, but him as a basketball player is also very good, so that'll help. They actually go to Cedar Catholic tonight, which Cedar Catholic is a C1 team. Mm-hmm. That's very intriguing kind of matchup, how'd that happen, right? So I think that one's interesting. I think Roncalli's there. Another one is Scotts Bluff, just how good they are. We just don't know. Huge test for them on the road on Tuesday night. They go to Ogallala, who I watched Ogallala Monday night, just watched the stream the whole game. They pounded North Platte St. Pat's, and St. Pat's is it's C1 to D1, huge difference. But St. Pat's defending state champions. Coach O'Malley's fantastic at what he does. I mean, they 40 balled him. Like, I think that one's very interesting for, like, superiority out west. Is it Ogallala, Scottsbluff, Sydney, that? I think Ogallala's pretty good in C1, but Scottsbluff, that road test that'll be a tough one.
Yeah, you look at Crete too, and they've won 4 straight. They jumped from 7 to 5, but have they really played some overly strong competition this season yet? Can you really assess who they are just yet?
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go that far right now. I think before the season they were definitely in the conversation. They have a young guard. Well, I can't think of his name. Really good too, but they're good. They're fine. Coach Siskey's won state titles before.
Yes, he has.
Obviously knows what he's doing. Building the program up, type of thing. And Waverly's maybe the surprise for me, kind of in that area. North being as good early with the young talent that they have is a little bit of a surprise in B as well.
I think Waverly. So we're going on about 4 or 5 years now. I know Coach Reeder, like, they've had some transition, but between football and basketball, I think there's been enough winning that the rising tide has lifted all boats. Like, I think that may just be a place that kids want to go because I think they can win. The names haven't mattered, really, right?
Yeah, culture's great. I mean, they lose. So they lost to North on opening night. I think it was in overtime. So that was a close game. And then Elkhorn pounded them, like, really did. And then I think okay, here's one tonight. Elkhorn North hosts Waverly tonight. And girls' game could be good. And the boys one, too, out there. So both of them. Yeah, the transition coaches, I don't think much changes a ton there because they've all been – I mean, they're all together anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But Waverly will be all right. Norris, and it's always that the EMC kind of – they'll beat each other up, like throw Blair in there occasionally. They'll beat each other up, and they'll be fine. And the EMC conference tournament in January will be kind of entertaining, and they'll all fight for district seeds. They're kind of who they are. They're not going to really change I guess the conversation or narrative. I think they're all just in that middle ground, and I think that's a fair assessment.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. C1, Wahoo and everybody else?
C1 would be, I feel now, again, Ogallala, like, let's see how Tuesday goes. Ogallala actually comes to the Louisville Holiday Tournament.
And I'm telling you, Coach Gillen is probably, knowing his temperament, he's probably furious if he's listening that I even said that at Oklahoma. Because that dude competes. I've known him half his life. I'm telling you, they got a good team. They got a really good team. But I do think Wahoo could go 12 deep and be just fine. They obviously won't, and Coach Sheaf is tremendous. I just think they're clearly probably the one. Ogallala is just the one we don't know about. And frankly, they've been 3 in our coaches poll, I guess all year. That's ahead of the newspaper, everyone else's polls. So I guess, like I said, Tuesday we'll see. And I will say this: Coach Gillen had a fantastic crew neck sweatshirt that I'm hoping is getting mailed to me because I asked. An Ogallala basketball one and a gray one with yellow writing on it. So on Monday night when I was watching the stream, I may or may not have sent a text and saying how I want that. So, if I'm rocking an Ogallala basketball shirt, don't kill me.
I don't think anybody would. Why not?
No.
Top town names in Nebraska, that has to be.
Ogallala?
It has to be up there.
Yeah, I almost died out there.
What?
Oh, yeah. I was inner tubing out there with a couple of my buddies that were from Cozad.
Oh, so at least you were doing a thrilling yet stupid activity?
Yeah, tore the cover off the inner tube. I literally thought that I broke my shoulder. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Kozad now live in Broken Bow, right?
Yes, indeed. Look at you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you're getting out amongst the people.
Yeah. Hey, man, I know good basketball players, and the one that lives in Broken Bow, his daughter was really good at Broken Bow.
Wow.
So,
you little Rolodex. You. Hey, so before we let you go, Drew Down will be the hammer. Should we keep Sautter on Friday morning dumps, or do we put him in the regular coffee and cream lineup?
We talked to him way too long. He'd have to stick in the dump.
Well, this probably won't be as long. I mean, this was pretty long.
And we talked about a lot of other things.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So it's all
we could put him at the top of the out. We could put him at 8, and we could talk
he's
high
saying
school.
operator error. We weren't specific enough. We let him talk about Ernest Hausman and
Right.
why he loves kids for
Right.
so long. Sautter, you're the best, man. We'll figure it out because I'll see you tonight somewhere. Where are you going tonight?
I think I was okay. Here's one. I was actually thinking about going to Freeman at Auburn tonight.
I'm curious about Auburn, so do that because they're kind of in the middle of the pack and Weeks wins championships, so I'm afraid to not give them their due.
Are you guys going?
Freeman's really good.
Why don't you do that for me, though?
Well, here's the problem. I have my other kid is home today, so.
Gosh, mine is too.
Yeah,
It's that time of year.
Micah is at home too, man.
But both of them are down for the count. My oldest has been out the whole week, so
Oh no.
We love
not
Daddy.
good. Hey, if I don't do that, I'll go Papio South Gretna.
Okay.
So it's one of those two for me.
All right, buddy.
Well, that's where you can catch Mike Sautter tonight. Of course, you can probably catch Damon. Where?
I don't know yet. I got some options. I may throw a curveball and wind up at Lewis Central.
Okay.
Yeah, I may go to Lewis Central tonight. I want to see those guys. I know the basketball program is struggling. I hear a lot of good things about Coach Torres, who actually played football, comes from a traditional football power in Iowa that may be able to get Lewis Central's basketball
You
program.
hoping to see Max Duggan there?
Maybe Max will come in and say hello. But I want to go see Owen Thomas, who is a really good football player. They have a lot of football guys playing basketball, so the basketball skill is coming.
It works.
But I may go see them. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, basketball to
Hey,
football or football to basketball always
Let me tell you
bleeds.
about Lewis Central. They got a football player, junior. He's a junior. Hurt his back. He is a Power 5 offensive lineman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead and say his name if you want.
No, I can't remember it, but I just remember seeing it.
Hey,
I just remember seeing it.
So, and Coach Camrad knows – gosh, should we give the shameless plug? No, we won't. Hey,
Coach Camrad's really good, by the way.
And he's well aware that he's going to be that guy, which is why I think he can kind of be that way on social media.
Right.
With, hey, get to our school, come see us, we got something good going.
Yeah.
Hey.
Or clap back at people on Facebook that maybe don't like his play calling or whatever. Man, Coach Camrad ain't having it. Leave that guy alone. He's building a monster out there.
I didn't like his play calling the River Battle Bowl, but that's a different
Oh,
topic.
I'm telling.
Taking shots.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
And they're hot.
Sautter, be good, buddy.
All right, bye.
Appreciate
Hey, thanks, Mike Sautter. That is Mike Sautter _ on Twitter. That's it for Morning Dump this morning. We'll see you next week.